Good morning, everybody. This is Sandy, and I am going to be preparing for you today a few recipes that are in our upcoming multi-cooker class that has 10 meals. We will be cooking 5 meals, preparing 5 meals next Saturday, October 3rd. So I have one of them I'm going to share with you this morning that's actually going to turn into our supper for tonight, and it is Tuscan bean soup. And it takes a few ingredients. I'm going to set it up as if I were freezing it, but I will be making this later, so I will come back on later and include a picture of the final product. So with that being said, the recipe calls for, and it's Tuscan chicken and bean soup, I'm sorry, there's a protein in there. So it calls for a tablespoon of vegetable oil, 2 cups of sliced baby carrots, 1 cup of sliced celery, 1 red bell pepper chopped, calls for onion seasoning, seasoned pepper, calls for 4 cups of unsalted chicken broth or stock, a 14.5 ounce can of no salt added diced tomatoes, undrained, calls for 1.5 cups of dried beans. They can be white, cannellini, pinto, or kidney, 3 tablespoons of Mamma Mia marinara sauce mix, and 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast. So, not all that stuff would be being prepped and going into your freezer. I will show you the steps that will involve the freezer, and then the others will come about on the day of cooking. So, with that being said, calls for the first 6 ingredients in a quart freezer bag. I did do a few shortcuts just to give you some tips. When it came to the carrots and the diced celery and the pepper, I cheated and I actually had these in my freezer, so I shopped my freezer first, so less things I had to purchase. So I went ahead and put all of these into a Ziploc bag. It calls for a tablespoon of vegetable oil. I actually had olive oil on hand, so that is what I'm going to be adding to this bag. The next step are my seasonings. It calls for 1 tablespoon of onion, right here. And give it a good shake. Those of you that are veterans, you do know that the tops of our spices, if you use the cap for measuring, it's 2 tablespoons. This calls for 1, so I'm only going to be filling it halfway. Just going to eyeball it. There we go. And then it calls for 1 to 2 teaspoons of seasoned pepper. And that is right here. No, it's not right there. It's right here. Glad I looked, because the other one was the Mamma Mia marinara sauce, and that doesn't go in until later. So it calls for 1 to 2 teaspoons. I am just going to do about 1.5 teaspoons. I love this seasoning, however, it is called seasoned pepper for a reason. So those who do not love pepper may not be loving this one as much. They may be liking our seasoned salt instead, which to me they taste the same, only minus the salt. So then, that's all that goes into this bag. I'm just going to let my air out. I didn't label this bag. The reason is because this bag and a couple of others need to go into the final bag that goes into your freezer. That's the bag that I did label, and I'll show that to you afterwards. So this is pretty simple. You're just going to manipulate this bag a little bit, massage it, and get all that seasoning mixed in. Of course, a tablespoon of oil helps to incorporate that, but it also comes into play because you will be sauteing these. If you're doing them in the Instapot, I believe. Crock pot, you do not need to. This particular workshop that we're working on is for both the crock pot as well as the Instapot. So those of you who have both, you can pick your favorite. I will actually be doing this today in my crock pot. So here's the first step. I'm going to put this aside. The next thing it wants you to do, just cover up my seasoned pepper so don't spill it here. Okay, the next step is to place your tomatoes and the Mamma Mia marinara sauce mix into another bag. I'm not going to do that for a couple of reasons. I did mention at the beginning I will be cooking this later, so I couldn't see doing that to this, but what I would be doing if this were going in my freezer is I did mark this on the top as Tuscan soup. I do not see the need to put this into another bag. I could just pull this out on cooking day and add it at that time with my seasoning. Because it's a brand new bottle of seasoning, I'm not worried about forgetting and using this spice on other meals and not having enough on cooking day. Because again, it is brand new, so I'm not worried about using it all up before I actually cook this meal. So I would be putting this in my pantry. It's marked. Okay, and the seasoning I would be using on that day. Another thing that it calls for is chicken broth. However, when you're freezing, you don't necessarily need to put that in a bag. I would not be putting chicken broth in a bag to put in the freezer. Instead, I've saved out 2 packets of the bouillon because that's what I would be using because I have this on hand. No need for me to purchase additional chicken broth. So this I'll just slide into the bag as well. The beans, same thing. I don't feel a need to put this into the freezer, nor is it necessary to put it into my bag. So this I will be putting aside with the can of tomatoes, and it'll be used on cooking day. Not this entire bag. It is only, I believe, one and a half cups, I believe, of beans. So onto the chicken. So here's another bag. Calls for 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast. I purchased a value pack, which is about 2.5. So I kept one breast out to cook separately for my husband for his salads. So that left me with 3 here, which I am sure is a little over 1.5 pounds. Just going to put them into my bag. There we go. A quick wash of my hands. But happy fall, everybody. This is the time that you can go apple picking and plan soups and stews and comfort foods, and this is the happy season for me anyway. This is my favorite season. All right, so we put these bad boys into this bag. I am using the bowl to hold my bag up, especially if I were adding a lot of ingredients in here so they would not spill. Just gonna take another peek here. Place chicken in a quart freezer bag. Place all of your bags into a gallon freezer bag. Now, again, you saw how simple this was. Just a few spices. Excuse me, my phone rings here.